9 reasons your car heats up after a short drive. Steam sneaking out from under the hood after just a few minutes on the road. The temp needle sprinting toward the red. That sweet, almost syrupy smell you can't ignore. When your car heats up after a short drive, something in the cooling system has stopped doing its job, and every extra mile risks warped parts, a blown head gasket, or an engine that's done for. And hey, welcome to AutoVFix, where we help you diagnose and fix your car problems in an easy-to-follow steps. Your engine makes a lot of heat. Coolant, half antifreeze, half water, circulates through hot passages in the engine, sheds that heat in the radiator, then comes back for more. If the fluid can't move, can't carry heat, or can't dump it to the air, temperatures spike fast. Let's walk through the 9 most common reasons this happens right after you pull away, how to spot each one, and what to do next so you don't turn a small fix into a big bill. The first and most common reason is low coolant. The system is sealed, so if the level is down, there's a leak. It could be a pinhole in a hose, a cracked radiator tank, a loose clamp, a seeping heater core, or a water pump that's weeping. With too little fluid in the loop, the remaining coolant can't carry enough heat away from the engine, and the gauge climbs within minutes. Look for colored puddles under the nose of the car, crusty residue around hose fittings, and damp stains on the radiator or pump. Top up with the right coolant mix to get home, but plan on finding and fixing the leak, not just refilling. Next is a thermostat stuck closed. This little valve is the gatekeeper between the engine and the radiator. Cold start? It stays shut to help warm up. As temperatures rise, it opens and lets hot coolant flow out to be cooled. When it sticks shut, hot coolant is trapped in the engine, and the temperature spikes quickly, even on a cool day. A big clue is an overheating engine with no heat from the vents because hot coolant isn't reaching the heater core. The fix is straightforward. Install a new thermostat with the correct temperature rating and a fresh gasket, then bleed the system properly. Third, a weak or failed water pump. The pump keeps coolant moving. If the impeller blades are corroded, the bearings are worn, or the drive belt is slipping, circulation slows or stops and heat piles up fast. You might hear a high-pitched whine, see a wobbling pulley, or find a drip from the pump's weep hole. Over 100,000 miles is a common failure window. Replace the pump if there's play or noise, and always check the belt and tensioner at the same time. If the belt can't grip, the pump can't pump. Fourth, air pockets trapped in the system. Air doesn't move heat like liquid. It blocks flow and creates hot spots. This usually shows up after a coolant change that wasn't bled correctly or from a small leak that pulls air in as the system cools. The behavior is weird. The gauge looks fine one minute, then spikes. The heater blows cold even while the engine is hot. The cure is to purge the air using the proper bleed screws or a vacuum fill tool. Then fix any small leaks so fresh air can't sneak back in. Fifth, a radiator that's blocked or leaking. The radiator's only job is to shed heat to the air. Inside, corrosion and scale can clog the narrow tubes. Outside, a mat of bugs, mud, or bent fins can choke airflow. Either way, hot coolant can't dump heat and the temperature rises quickly, especially in traffic. A leak lowers the overall volume and starts the low coolant cycle. Look for damp spots, green or orange crust, bent fins, or hairline cracks around plastic tanks. A thorough flush can help if the clogging is light. Serious internal blockage or physical damage calls for replacement. Rinsing the fins from the engine side outward can restore lost airflow. Sixth, a cooling fan that isn't doing its job. At highway speeds, air rams through the grill. At idle or in slow traffic, the electric fan has to pull air through the radiator. If the motor, relay, fuse, or temperature switch fails, you'll notice a pattern. The gauge climbs at stoplights, then drops once you're moving. A quick test is to switch the AC on with the engine idling. The fan should kick on right away. If it doesn't, start with fuses and relays, check for power at the connector, and replace the motor if it's dead. Seventh, bad hoses. Hoses age from the inside out. They can harden, crack, or soften and collapse. A split hose leaks fluid. A soft lower radiator hose can actually suck flat at higher RPM and choke flow, causing an almost immediate overheat when you accelerate. Feel for mushy sections. Look for bulges near clamps and dried coolant tracks, and replace any suspect hose with quality parts and new clamps. 8th, engine oil problems. Oil doesn't just lubricate, it carries heat away from moving parts. Low oil or old, thinned out oil increases friction, which adds heat the cooling system now has to fight. Signs include a ticking noise from the top end, a glowing oil light, or dark, thin oil on the dipstick. Keeping oil at the proper level and changing it on schedule reduces friction and lowers overall temperatures. 9th, load and terrain. Heavy towing, steep climbs, and hot weather can push a borderline system over the edge quickly. If your radiator is partially clogged, your fan is weak, or your coolant is overdue, that extra heat load will show up as a rapid climb on the gauge within a few minutes. If you must tow, watch the gauge closely. Downshift to keep pump and fan speeds up. Use the heater as a temporary heat sink if needed, and pull over at the first sign of a spike. Quick reality check on what your senses are telling you. Steam pouring from the grill or fenders means coolant has found a hot surface and is flashing off. Pull over. A sweet candy-like smell is coolant vapor. A sharp, hot smell can be overheated oil. Knocking or ticking often points to low oil and high friction. A hollow thump can happen when boiling coolant hits cold liquid because a thermostat isn't opening. If the hood is too hot to rest your hand on for more than a few seconds, you're beyond normal operating temperature. You may also feel the car losing power as sensors pull timing to protect the engine and as parts expand from heat. Before we go deeper, if this has already helped you zero in on what's happening under your hood, tap that like button and subscribe. We post plain English fixes every week to help you diagnose problems early and keep more cash in your pocket. If the temperature spikes on the road, here's the safe step-by-step. Pull over as soon as it's safe and switch on your hazard lights. Turn off the AC and turn the cabin heater to full hot. It's uncomfortable, but it pulls heat out of the cooling system and can buy you a minute or two. Shut the engine off and give it at least 15-20 minutes to cool. Do not twist off the radiator cap while it's hot. Pressurized coolant can spray and cause severe burns. Once things have cooled, look at the translucent reservoir. If it's empty, that's a big clue. If you carry pre-mixed coolant, top the reservoir to the main line, start the engine, and watch for a steady drip or stream that reveals the leak. If the gauge starts climbing again quickly, call a tow. It's cheaper than replacing a warped cylinder head. Now let's turn this into a quick driveway plan you can actually use. When the engine is stone cold, check the reservoir and top it to the proper mark with the manufacturer-specified coolant. Start the car, set the heat to hot, and let it idle. As it warms, feel the upper radiator hose. It should suddenly go from cool to hot. This is the thermostat opening. If the gauge rises and the hose stays cool, suspect a stuck thermostat. With the AC on at idle, the cooling fan should run. If it doesn't, chase the fuse, relay, and then the motor. If both radiator hoses get very hot but the car overheats in traffic, look for a weak fan or blocked fins. If the reservoir constantly bubbles and you see persistent white smoke from the tailpipe that smells sweet, test for a head gasket issue before you cook the engine. Preventive care is the easiest money you'll ever save on a car. Check coolant monthly and before long trips. Use the correct formula and the correct mix. Not all coolants play nicely together. Change the oil on schedule. Fresh oil runs cooler and protects better. Inspect hoses and clamps twice a year and replace anything swollen, cracked, or suspect. Flush the cooling system every couple of years or around 30,000 miles unless your automaker specifies a different interval. A proper flush and bleed clears debris and removes air that creates hot spots. Keep the radiator face clean with a gentle rinse from the engine side out. And anytime the system has been opened, after a pump, thermostat, radiator, or hose job, make sure it's bled correctly so you don't introduce the very air pocket that causes a fast overheat. Here's a quick recap you can screenshot. Fast overheat after a short drive usually traces back to one of these: low coolant from a leak, a thermostat stuck shut, a failing pump or slipping belt, trapped air after recent service, a clogged or leaking radiator, a cooling fan that won't kick on, weak or collapsed hoses, low or old oil, or heavy load exposing a marginal system. Act early when the gauge climbs. Let the engine cool before you touch anything, and solve the root cause, not just the symptom, so the problem stays gone. If you found this helpful, give the video a thumbs up and share it with someone dealing with a no-start problem right now. And if you want more car advice explained in plain English, don't forget to subscribe to Auto V Fix so you can stay one step ahead of your repairs and keep more money in your pocket. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.